Okay, good morning and good evening, everybody. So we will get started. We'll continue the discussion of Yoga Sutra, Samadhi Pada. So let's start with the prayer.
Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarot tam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi.
Okay, so we'll get started. So with the last session, we concluded our discussion on Ishvara Pranidhana. And in that Ishvara Pranidhana, why Ishvara Pranidhana is important is yoga. The first goal of the yoga is Samadhi. Samadhi means I need to gain complete control over my mental activities. And it's not an easy task because the mind, by its own design and nature, is not easy to tame. But with practice and proper dispassion, one should be able to do that. And this progression in Samadhi is not a binary step. In fact, it goes through different stages. We have seen that we start with Samprajnata Samadhi and eventually move into Asamprajnata Samadhi. Samprajnata Samadhi is where you need an object of meditation to gain your focus or to achieve your meditative absorption. From that Samprajnata Samadhi, we move to Asamprajnata Samadhi, where you don't need the support of any object of meditation to get that absorption. And even the Samprajnata Samadhi goes through 4 stages: Savikarka, Savichara, Sananda, Sa-asmita. These were the 4 levels. Depending upon the type of object you choose to focus, the type of object you need to gain the meditative absorption, these were the 4 stages of Samprajnata Samadhi. And then Patanjali explored the option. How can one accelerate? Is there any catalyst one can use to gain a quick progress in this process? And he came and told us that Ishvara Pranidhana, surrender to Ishvara, is easy way to accelerate this process. So we talked about who is Ishvara. Who is Ishvara is very important to understand. It is because without that, this whole idea of Ishvara Pranidhana, one may not get it. And this is the essential Bhakti Yoga in our scriptures. So Ishvara, understanding Ishvara as the intelligent order of the universe, relating to Ishvara, understanding the sensitivity, living the life with a sensitivity that, yeah, I'm connected to this Ishvara, and aligning with that rules of Ishvara is the true Ishvara Pranidhana. And Ishvara is defined, Tasya Vajaha Pranavaha. So we understood Ishvara as represented by a sound syllable, Om, and the japa and meditation upon this Ishvara is going to remove all obstacles. That's where we stopped. Because what are those obstacles in the path of yoga? So naturally, the next topic would be what are those obstacles and how Ishvara Pranidhana is going to help us. So that's the topic we are going to see today. So verses 30 to 32 is going to talk about the different obstacles in this path of yoga, which can be mitigated and to a certain extent controlled with Ishvara Pranidhana through the Om meditation. So this is the topic we are going to see today. Any questions before I go there? Okay, so we are going to see 3 verses today. So we will conclude the discussion, and from there we will come back and have the question answers. So let's start with the first verse, which is 30. what are all the distractions of the mind which can be controlled with Om meditation? This sutra is probably one of the lengthiest sutra. So we need to, typically the sutras are Ishvara Pranidhana Va. It's very short. Sometimes the sutra is very, very lengthy. So the 30th sutra is very lengthy because it enumerates, there are different types of distractions of the mind. Very systematically elaborated. So we need to see this in detail. So let's listen to the sutra and then we will understand each of the word.
व्याधिस्त्यान संशय प्रमादालस्या विरति भ्रान्तिदर्शनालब्ध भूमिकत्वा नवस्थितत्वानि चित्तविक्षेपास्तेन्तरायाः.
You can see how lengthy is this sutra, and complicating matter further, we do have Santhi rules which combines multiple words into one compound word. So we wanted to understand. Let me just do in iterations. Let's start the high level theme of the sutra. The high level theme of sutras are, Patanjali is going to enumerate 9 disturbances that creates vikshepa of the mind. So that's what. These are distractions or vikshepa of the mind. So if you remember, right, so the 2 things which are critical to gain samadhi is, one is the purity of the mind. Second thing is the control over the vikshepa. Vikshepa is the disturbances created in the mind. So what are those disturbances? What are all the causes that creates these vikshepa? Patanjali tells there are 9 distractions, 9 things that can cause these distractions or vikshepa of the mind. And that's what we need to gain control. Because remember, the whole purpose of this meditative practice is to gain control over the mind and to control these vikshepa. If you remember in Bhagavad Gita also, this is the same topic we have been discussing. The Karma Yoga is designed for Mala Nivritti, for the purification, whereas this Upasana Yoga of the Bhagavad Gita was designed to gain this Vikshepa Nivritti. So that's exactly, here it goes to 2 steps down and gives us what are all the detailed Vikshepa, causes, disturbances that creates the Vikshepa of the mind. Patanjali tells they are 9 in number. And these Vikshepa, he tells, right, it tells they creates a block, they creates a problem to attain the base for concentration. If you want to meditate and get absorbed in the meditation, like if you want to get into a samadhi, these disturbances can create a problem to gain and sustain the samadhi. That's essentially it is. So there are 9 disturbances. Te antarayaha. Antaraya means disturbances. Create distractions for the distractions in the form of vikshepa in the mind. So just listen to this once again, right? There are disturbances of the mind, antaraya. There are 9 of them. They create some distractions of the mind in the form of vikshepa, in the form of mental activity, which prevents you or which blocks you from attaining the base of meditation or the concentration. So leads to instability. Instability means you cannot, even if you attain the samadhi, if you are suffering from these disturbances, it can pull you down immediately. So if you attain samadhi for a second, you cannot sustain it. So that's what it is. It is the whole thing. So what are they? We wanted to understand one by one. So let's try to understand this one by one. What are these 9 disturbances which can create distractions, which in the form of vikshepa, which will prevent you in attaining the samadhi. And even those who attain the samadhi, it will pull them down quickly, because even if you reach Savikalpa, you cannot proceed to the next one. Savichara, Sananda, Sasmita. So what are these 9 distractions? That's the theme of this sutra. So we'll come back and start the sutra once again, once we understand the details. So the distractions or the turbulence of the mind is known as vikshepa. This is a very technical term, which is a very focused effort in yoga to control this vikshepa. These disturbances, they are called as antaraya. That is the technical term used. Antaraya. Aya means move. That is the technical meaning. Ayanam means movement or journey. What is a popular word you heard of that? Ramayanam. Ramayana means Rama's Ayanam. Rama's journey. The path shown by Rama. That's what Ramayana is. So Ayanam means movement. And then Aya means move. And Antara means what? It creates a gap. Antara. Even in our local language, you say there is an antaram between A and B. So these disturbances are called antaraya because they move and create a gap in your practice. You wanted to stay focused, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. These subtle practices, they create a gap. Gap from where you want to be with what you are. You want to focus on the form of Lord Shiva, but this antaraya can take a gap. It can take your mind instead of Lord Shiva. It can take you to somewhere else. That is why it is called as antaraya. That is the technical term used. So these antarayas, 9 of them means Patanjali enumerated in the sutra, which causes vikshepa. 9 antaraya. Again, it's a dicing and slicing. It's only a model. You can model it as 15, you can model it as 9, you can model it as 3, but the model followed by Patanjali is called the 9 model. So these 9 antarayas affect the type and modifications of the mind, vrittis. What vrittis comes to your mind? These disturbance can determine what vrittis comes to your mind. And removing these distractions, removing these 9 problems will give you better control over the vrittis. Remember, if you want to gain in yoga, if you want to establish in yoga, you need to have control over these vrittis, and these 9 distractions are potential risk, which can take away from the quality and the quantity of the vrittis. So you need to practice this, and Ishvara Pranidhana for Patanjali is a very good means to remove these obstacles, of course, along with the practice. And when you understand what is Ishvara, it makes more sense. Because who is Ishvara? It is the universal order. It is the intelligent order of the universe. So Ishvara Pranidhana means you're conforming to the laws of Ishvara, meaning you're following dharma. So that means you have to follow the dharma of the body, you have to follow the dharma of the speech, you have to follow the dharma of the mind. When you follow that, when you surrender to Ishvara, by the grace of Ishvara, these 9 disturbances are removed. So let's try to understand what exactly are these 9 disturbances. So the first one he talks is Vyatti, disease of the body. Imagine I have a toothache. I'm sitting in meditation, trying to get absorbed in samadhi. It creates problem. So if you have a Vyatti, you have to go and treat. Some of these things you need external medicine, which is covered in chapter 3. You need to see a doctor and you need to fix it. Because you need to make sure that following the dharma of the body means you need to try to make your body as healthy as possible. So Vyatti is the primary disturbances. If the body is not fit or it is suffering from some illness, diseases. To be very specific, the sutra talks about the imbalances of Annamaya Kosha. See, what is a disease? Think through that. What is a disease? See, the body is designed to work in certain way. When the body slips from that designed form of working, your blood pressure is supposed to have this much. If it goes up, that means it's a delta or a deviation from the designed state. That's why this is the technical term used in Ayurveda. So Patanjali was also a master of Ayurveda. So he tells the physical illness is a result of physical imbalances. The way the physical body is designed, when there is a disturbance in that system, it manifests as a disease. So the symptom is a dashboard indicator which tells me that there is something wrong. So that's why the whole Ayurveda system, ideally followed, it's a very good system, but we don't follow it properly. Unfortunately, there was no such research that happened in Ayurveda post-Vedic period compared to what we have in modern medicine. So the basics of Ayurveda is there are three things they say: Pitta, Vata, and Kapha. So when there is an imbalance in this constituents, that manifests as a disease. But nevertheless, that's not the topic here. The topic here is when that Annamaya Kosha is disturbed, when there is a disturbances in the body, if you're not healthy, if the body is giving you some trouble in your seats of meditation, that's a big obstacle. So that's why you need to make sure that the body is healthy. This is why Krishna also highlights this topic in chapter 6. You need to have a firm body because the mind-body connection is very much evident in our scriptures. Because this Ati is something that leads to Vyatti, or Vyatti can lead to Ati. Ati means stress. So the Vyatti can lead to stress, or the stress can lead to diseases. It's a bi-directional working. So disease or the Vyatti is the first thing. The second disturbance is called Stainya. Stainya means idleness. Idleness means like you have a lot of work, but you don't feel like working. So the declination of the mind towards work, like a mental fatigue, it is caused by some defect in the pranamaya kosha, your energy system of your body. That's what they say. As a psychological condition based upon you feel that there is a lack of purpose. I don't feel like doing it. You don't have the energy. That's also a problem. Stainya is represented as the second disturbances. I used the term mental disturbances. I should have used only disturbances because the physical disturbance is also there. The third disturbance is called samshaya. Samshaya means it's not the doubt, mere doubt. It is a problem, like you are confused over something, right? You consider two sides of an issue and thinking that it might be this way or it might be that way. Unresolved doubts. That can create a problem of your concentration and meditation. So Vyatti, Stainya, Samshaya. Then Pramada, it's a carelessness. So it is the lax and the carelessness in yogic pursuits. Lack of persistence. You don't do it properly. Careless practice. You are not mindful. You are careless in your yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, the basic steps. That can create disturbances. You need to be careful and mindful. So Vyatti, Stainya, Samshaya, Pramada. Next one is Alasya, laziness. Laziness means it's not that lack of energy. I'm lazy. Fascination for comfort. Comfort and ease. Have you seen in the previous in every generation it is there, but It is very much listed as this laziness is a characteristic of a lot of people who were born with silver spoon, especially in India. You could see that they don't even get up and do anything. I was reading a beautiful novel. That's why all these diseases, lifestyle diseases, they got. I've seen in olden days, even like the heads of the houses sitting in the portico of the house, even if they want a tea, the wife has to bring it from all the way to kitchen to here. I've seen that multiple times. Laziness. This is not good. And such lazy people cannot do well in yoga. So everybody wants comfort, but you cannot take shortcuts for comfort. You have to do what needs to be done. That's why in Hindi, I believe that it is Kabir. He said, Kal kare to aaj and aaj kare to ab. You have to do whatever you need to do tomorrow, today. And whatever you need to do today, you have to do now. This particular topic is experimented multiple times. People, even kids, this laziness is considered as a control of the mind. And even the marshmallow experiment, the kids were told that if you wait for an hour, you get 2 marshmallows. Otherwise, you can get 1. Surprisingly, most of the kids took the first option. And I forgot the name of the person who conducted this experiment. It was in 65 or 70s. They tried to follow these codes, how they're doing in their life. So those who can postpone their enjoyment for some times, they performed better in their life. This is very important. So laziness is a big obstacle in the path of yoga. Then it is called avirati. Avirati means it is the worldly mindedness. Like you are too much obsessed with the worldly pressure. So you always contemplate upon the sense pleasures and that alone only. That will create problems in meditation. If you just, of course, everybody needs sense pleasure, but you are obsessed with that. Everybody wants comfort. Let's say that today, like there is a power outage. If you scream and create a big fuss of that, that means you're too much addicted to the comfort. So one of my teachers, one teacher used to tell, so it was Swami Dayananda, he used to say, the definition of spirituality is convert necessities to luxuries. What is a sign of the worldly life? Converting luxuries to necessities. In 90s, I still remember a Maruti 800 car was considered as a luxury.
Yes.
There was no AC.
Yeah.
The whole car was like a small box. But it was a luxury. Now, if you have a Maruti, if your AC stop work for 5 minutes,
You go mad.
mad. What happened in that process? You converted a luxury at that time into a
Necessity.
necessity. I still remember 96, the dial-up internet connections in India. You have to wait hours for a page to download. Here, if your connection is little bit slow for a second, you get mad now.
Yeah.
So this is what is called worldly mindedness. So there is nothing wrong in using a luxury car. There is nothing wrong in using a high-speed internet. But always keep them as luxury. If you miss a luxury for a day, is that make you upset? Right? So you look forward, you feel that you're grateful that I have that luxury. When I got that Maruti at that time, I felt that, okay, it's a, oh my God, I'm so lucky, I have it. So I use that with reverence. That's what it is. So again, spirituality is a process that converts these necessities to luxury. Plenty of oxygen, good oxygen is available to me. Food is available to me. A family is available to me. My body is healthy. I see that as a luxury. I see that as a grace of God. That creates a different attitude of the mind towards everything. It makes me happy. It makes me grateful. It makes me operate in the world with a different mindset compared to the other mindset. I still enjoy. I enjoy more, in fact. The other one is everything, the body is taken for granted. You realize the value of the body only when something goes wrong. You realize the value of the eyes when there is a small issue in the eye. You realize the value of your teeth only when there is a toothache. That's what it is. So this can create disturbances. And delusion. Delusion is called Pranti Darshana. Pranti Darshana means what? Taking one thing for the other. This is a big problem. Remember, you see A and see that as A dash. That can create problem. Anything and everything, you create some interpretation in your mind and you get disturbed because of that. Somebody didn't call me today. I create all those things in my mind. And what is going to happen? I create problem. That's the problem. Imagination and Pranti Darshana. Pranti Darshana means, Pranti means delusion, Darshana means seeing. I see something which is deluded. You didn't smile, Arnabji. I will say that, okay, here you have a problem with me. Whether you have a problem with me or not, that's a different matter.
Yeah.
But what I feel is what? You have a problem with me. When I feel, is that going to, you may not have any problem with me, but I go through that pain.
Yes.
So 80% of the time, the pain I go through is from this Bhranti Darshana. When you have this Bhranti Darshana, that is going to affect your progress in your path of yoga.
Hey, Rajesh.
Yes, Rohitji.
Mistaking rope for a snake, is that a Bhranti Darsana?
Absolutely. That's a classic example of Bhranti Darshana. So taking that example, that is the conventional example. I see a rope. No, I see a snake, but in fact, it was a rope. What would be my reaction?
Jump away.
Yeah. Somebody can get a heart attack also.
Yeah.
I used to wonder, what would be the next day, the headline?
Somebody died.
Somebody died by seeing a
Rope.
rope.
Mm.
And you have to understand, right? Most of the times our body also suffers because of this. Your immune system is such a wonderful tool which can fight with almost everything in your any foreign particles coming to your body. But one challenge every human being faces what? They create a lot of stress in themselves. And what is the first characteristics of this stress? It will shut down your immune system. Because elevated stress put a flag in your brain that you're doing a firefighting on something else, like a fire or a tiger, etc. So there is no signal given your immune system to fight. Even sometimes some diseases force this immune system. Like they say this, cancer. Some cancer cells, what it does is, it gives a wrong system, your immune system, saying that, yeah, it means it is already killed. Everything is killed. So even though the cancer spread, the immune system is silent.
Yeah.
This is one area where the modern medicine is still not yet understood a lot. How our immune system functions and behaves. Right? So I know that in cancers and all, there is some new treatment, like they try to create some they make your own immune system to fight with cancer. Like this is another big topic. Research. What I'm saying is that it's very important to avoid this Bhranti Pratyaya Darshana, because even if you're a slight headache, you think the worst, and if you're extremely anxious, what is going to happen? You yourself is going to prevent your system from curing it. And one of the direct benefit of prayer is that, what? You see, faith healing, that is very popular. In every religion, it is there. Christianity uses that very much. Even Hindu system uses that. Every system uses that. One of the psychological reasons why this faith healing working is what? When you trust that God is going to cure them, it will reduce the stress considerably. When that stress is reduced, your own immune system is going to take care of a lot of things. So when you think about the power of prayer, and this is a topic related to prayer, you can do a scientific analysis. What is a scientifically proven benefit of the prayer? The scientific, because see, how the law of karma works and all, it is nobody can prove it. So you may have had some experiences that can be treated only as anecdotes. You cannot say that there is a proof in the domain of law of karma. But there is 100% you can clinically prove that those who have a strong faith in God, those who believe that the God is going to cure them, the immune system works better. That's 100% proven. That's one benefit. So that's why Ishvara Pranidhana is going to take care of these things. And finally, instability in the concentration. So that also is a disturbances. You can gain focus for 2 seconds, but you cannot sustain it. That's also another disturbances. These are the 9 disturbances that creates vikshepa of your mind, and that vikshepa of your mind helps you to reach your goals of yoga. And Patanjali tells these 9 disturbances can be controlled to a certain extent by Ishvara Pranidhana and Abhyasa and Vairagya. So this is the solution. Remember, we started this discussion from verse 11, how to control vrittis, right? So if you remember the sequence, it is very important. So we talked about yoga as Chitta Vritti Nirodha, and the Chitta Vritti Nirodha can be achieved by understanding the vrittis and gaining control over them. And then the means of achieving this Chittavritti Nirodha was enumerated as Abhyasa and Vairagya. And along with the Abhyasa and Vairagya, you need a catalyst. And that catalyst is Ishvara Pranidhana. So this Ishvara Pranidhana along with Abhyasa and Vairagya can definitely help you to mitigate these 9-fold disturbances. Again, look at the style of the scriptures. This is not a book which is written 20 years back or 100 years back. This is 2,500 years back. Look at the analysis.
Hey Rajesh,
Yes, Tomiji.
can you talk about the 8th distraction?
Okay, it is the non-achievement of a stable state. So, like you cannot, stable state is what in a meditative practice? You cannot focus on your object of meditation. The stability, like your mind is always fickle. It always move away. Failure to attain the concentration or samadhi. That is what is known as the 8th one. Alaptha bhumika. Bhumika means state. Alaptha means you cannot reach. I am sitting and closing the eyes and meditating upon Lord Shiva. Everything else but Lord Shiva comes to my mind. That's it. So non-attainment, and sometimes means what is going to happen, right? You cannot progress. Yeah, I can focus. Some people can focus on the breathing. But when it goes to from Savitarka to Savichara, no progress. I cannot. This is a very common thing in yoga. So you can focus on Shiva. But if you substitute Shiva with anything else, it will not work. See, the Savitarka Samadhi is the first stage. You have to move from there to Savichara, Sananda, Sasmita. Of course, the Savitarka Samadhi is going to help me from a lot of things. But if you want to reap the full benefit of yoga, you have to have that ability to gain a stable state of mind. So this is a common practice that happens to any sadhaka.
Yeah, just wanted to. So I know that this is for us to proceed with the for yoga, but then looks like even for the normal state of mind, the joyous state of mind, all these things are needed. Even
Absolutely.
though just it's like a basic necessity, all whatever you have explained.
Absolutely.
Simply to just
Any goals, it is there. Here we are talking in the context of meditation, but that is applicable to any goals of your life. Absolutely.
So Rajeshji, actually all of these 9 principles are applicable to any state of life, right?
Absolutely. It is. It is.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the one you talked about, the 8th one, like our state of mind when we see the rope as a snake or kind of thing. The other way around also you were just trying to explain. So that is a kind of similar experiment they do with this placebo effect, right? Like how that helps people to, when they have the faith and then the thing, how it actually works. It actually works. That's a proven thing. So
it is.
Right.
And placebo is one thing. There is the opposite of placebo, nocebo.
What is that?
As if you believe that something is happening to you, like there is a classic example. You can refer this study. There is a particular tribes in China. They believe that they will die at the age between 60 and 70. Most of the people die. I referred a book earlier, right? Long time back. The book is called Mind Over Medicine. It talks about hundreds of such studies and examples. Mind Over Medicine by Dr. Lisa Rankin. That's a very, very beautiful book. It's a must-read book for all of us. One heart-touching story in that book is there was a patient who was suffering from cancer. So he heard that a particular medicine is in the second stage of the clinical trial that can miraculously cure his type of cancer. So he forced the doctor. Typically, you cannot give that medication to a human being unless it is clinically approved. So he said, I can take the risk. Anyway, what is that I'm going to lose? I will die in the next 24 hours or in 2 to 3 weeks. The doctor gave him the medication. Miraculously. Again, this is not an anecdote. This is really proven. So miraculously, this person got completely cured. And he became very normal. The tragedy here was, after a year, there was a huge news broke out. This particular medication, which cured this guy, is ineffective, and they're withdrawing from the market. Within 1 month, this guy passed away.
Oh my God.
This is documented evidence. So this shows in one stroke, both the placebo as well as the nocebo.
Absolutely.
Yep. So this is very important. This verse is very important. So we understand that this is the 9 disturbances. Any further discussions we can have at the end. Let's go to the next sutra.
दुःखदौर्मनस्याङ्गमे जयत्वश्वास प्रश्वासा विक्षेपसह भुवः.
Now the question is very important. Look at the way we are going down. It is very important. He said, these antarayas can create disturbances which can create vikshepa. How do you know now that you are affected by these vikshepa? What are all the symptoms that is going to tell you that you are under these vikshepa? The symptoms may not be the direct causes. So, in the sutra, Patanjali tells us the symptoms of a distracted mind. So, look for the symptoms. If the symptom is there, you are affected by one of the 9 causes. Please, one request is, it's a step-by-step process. It's a step-by-step unfoldment. So, you are going from one step to the next. So if you don't understand, please stop me or discuss that topic, right? So earlier we saw this is the 9 causes of distraction and how that manifests and affects you. So he tells dukkha, suffering. If you have, of course, there is a little bit of here and there, but if something is bothering you a lot, you need to look into that. Then dejection, daurmanasya. Dejection of despair, shivering, trembling of the body, problems in breathing, like unrhythmic breathing, like you could see, right? Shallow breathing and other thing. Problem with the shwasa and prashwasa. And Patanjali tells, these usually accompanies distractions. When you have vikshepa, these things will happen. So suffering, you feel that you are suffering and you feel that you are dejected, and sometimes your body will shiver and you see that your breathing pattern has affected, like shallow breathing. These are the symptoms of stress. I request you to go to Mayo Clinic and Google it. Symptoms of stress. You will see exactly the same thing. Bhagavad Gita brilliantly elaborates in the first chapter. If you remember the first chapter, Arjuna was a beautiful picture is painted, showing exact same thing. Vepatuscha sharire me romaharshasya jayade. Right? Gantivam shramsate hasta tvagdahya parishichyati. My body is shivering. I cannot stay focused. I'm feeling extremely dejected. All these are classic symptoms of, textbook symptoms of stress. Still, you call Freud as the father of modern psychology. I used to say that. I was so wondered, pleasantly surprised. I was reading the book of Edwin Brand. When these verses coming, he put a note. I cannot believe that people are calling Freud as the father of psychology. This is another Caucasian author who is telling this. It goes to this level of detail. So let's try to understand each of this.
Dukkha.
So the first one, dukkha, suffering. It can come from three sources. One is known as Adi Devika. Adi Devika from nature. See, the nature can create disturbances in my mind. One of those 9 causes can be created by the change in nature. Some people doesn't like snow. Sometimes tsunami, certain things which you do not have control. Things can create. So those are Adi Devika. Sorry. Yeah, then Adi Bhautika. It is from others. Like other people, other insects, others outside of you, which are not the nature. And the third source of disturbance is called Adhyatmika. It's my own imagination, my own body, my own mind. So these are the sources of suffering. In the commentary, Vyasa elaborates this topic in detail. So this is why when you do any mantra, you say Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Remember the Sahana Bhavatu we chant for the Gita, or the Purnamada we chant at the end of the Yoga Sutra? Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat Purnamudachyate, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnam Eva Avashishyate, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I want Adi Devika Shanti, Adi Bhautika Shanti, Adhyatma Shanti. So if you feel some sufferings, whatever is the reason, understand that one of those 9 disturbances is active. So then, when you have suffering, right, it is combined with a feeling of incapability to remove that suffering. It leads to desperation. Okay, if it is cold, that's fine. I can increase the heater. But if the heater is not working immediately, and I cannot figure out anybody to come today, I'm suffering. And I don't have a solution for that. That creates desperation. One is certain things in the nature or by the outside people can create suffering. And when I find that, or at least when I have a feeling, not even find, if my feeling is that I cannot control this, that creates desperation. And this desperation creates some nervousness. And sometimes if it goes high, like a panic attack mode, you feel that your body is affected. That is the situation where Ati leads to Vyatti. And the what happens to your body get manifested in your mind. I have experienced that. I know, like at certain situation, I feel that my body is shaking, shivering, etc. And it also follows shallow breathing. So at that point of time, when Patanjali was writing this, we didn't know the science this much. Now the science, medical science comes back and tell me that when you have stress, one of the first muscles that get stiffened or affected is what? Your diaphragm. The muscles that controls your diaphragm. When the diaphragm is affected, you know your lungs, right? It is one of the most complicated organs. Every organ is complicated. Again, you can read that book, The Body. One chapter is there for the lungs itself. And you will be a huge aha moment. So this diaphragm, when it is affected, what happens? The lungs' capacity to pull the air, it gets less. And also the stress demands more activity in the body. So the body needs more oxygen, but practically the amount of oxygen coming to your body is less. So as a result, what happens? It tries to increase your speed of breathing, and it will create a shallow breathing. That's why the yoga practices, the first thing you are asked to do is Shavas, this like the meditation, abdominal meditation. That's an easy way to get out of it. So these are the symptoms. You feel physically suffering, or you are mentally suffering. You feel desperation. You feel nervousness. You feel the shaking or shivering of your bodies or anga. And finally, you feel that your breathing pattern has affected. These are the symptoms of these distractions. When you experience these distractions, it will definitely affect your ability to proceed with meditation. To Radhika's point, not just meditation, every activity of your life. But this is very important. So the 9 disturbances we mentioned in the previous sutra is it creates problem and it creates further set of disruptions. These are the symptoms. So this Patanjali tells a yogi whose mind is fixed and controlled, he will not be affected by these things. These obstacles will disappear when you have the ability to focus your mind and stay focused. A yogi will not suffer. Yogi may have pain, but he will not suffer. And Patanjali prescribes Ishvara Pranidhana as one of the important steps in removing or mitigating these obstacles. Okay, so let's cover one more verse and then we will go to the Q&A.
व्याधिस्त्यानसंशय प्रमादालस्या विरति भ्रान्तिदर्शनालब्धभूमिकत्वा नवस्थितत्वानि चित्तविक्षेपास्तेऽन्तरायाः दुःखदौर्मनस्याङ्गमे जयत्वश्वास प्रश्वास विक्षेपसह भुवः तत्प्रतिषेधार्थम् एकतत्त्वाभ्यासः
Tatpratishedartham, for their stoppage. For their stoppage means what? The stoppage of these distractions, not symptoms. Symptoms are only outward. If you really want to control those symptoms, you need to stop or control those distractions. You need to keep, because otherwise it will be a symptomatic treatment. So the stoppage of this distraction, you need to practice a single pointed mind, focused mind. That is Eka Tattva Abhyasaha. You need to practice your mind to focus on one thing that you want. Let's say that you're waiting for a test result, anxious test result. What you don't want is thinking over that test results, because absolutely no point in thinking over that right now till you get that. It is not going to help you. Instead, if you can focus your mind on something else, at least your healing system will work. So that's how your ability to focus your mind where you want to be, that is the key to avoid these distractions. So the concentration of the mind, that is why this meditative practices are very important. And Patanjali tells, Om meditation probably is the best meditation you can focus now, and naturally it can help you to control all these 9 disturbances. or how to counter this. So it tells like concentration of the purpose and capacity to keep the mind directed within that object of meditation. It is the prerequisite for yoga, and fixing the mind on this Om meditation, it is going to help us on this, because it will help you to mitigate those 9 distractions. And when you control these 9 distractions, you can control this. So there, let me just, for the academic purpose, at this point of time, right, in the traditional commentaries of Yoga Sutra, you can see a huge debate. Debate is the metaphysical model of the Buddhism and the metaphysical model of the Yoga Sutra is different. Even though a lot of things are common between the Hindu tradition and the Buddhist tradition, there is one area which is very different. One is called the Anatma, meaning Buddhists do not see or they don't recognize a fundamental reality. Shunyavada, that is pretty much common in all schools of Buddhism. So here, Vyasa, and in the chapter 4, Patanjali put that alternative view. It's the Hindu type of schools where you understand Atma and you say that, because you say that you have the ability to control the mind by shifting your identity to your real source, which is Atma, and seeing mind as an object of your thoughts and meditation. Again, it's not much important for us, but I just wanted to let you know that there are some good debates. So how that debates are carried out in our scriptures means even Shankara used to do that. They present the alternate view as Purva Paksha. Purva Paksha means this is the alternate view. And the beauty is that they didn't say that this is a Buddhist view or anything like that, but you know that this is the Buddhist view of metaphysics. And then they present this view that, yeah, you cannot, means the change cannot happen without a changeless frame of reference. That is the argument that is used here. Right? You say that your body changes, but there is a frame of reference. You, with respect to you, the body changes. So that type of argument is used, pretty much logical, and finally concludes that this is an alternate view and this has more logical value in that. But again, for our study, it's not important, but it's for the academic purpose. So we covered 3 sutras. The first sutra talks about the 9 disturbances, which creates vikshepa. Vikshepa means mental modifications, and that affects the practice of yoga. So that's point number 1. Point number 2 is these 9 disturbances can be understood as through some symptoms. And knowing that symptoms, you know that you are suffering from those disturbances. And the solution is fixing your mind on your chosen object of meditation, and Ishvara Pranidhana is going to help you in that. That covers the topic we were planning to cover, and that covers the next topic also in the Yoga Sutra, obstacles and solution. Now, since we understood as fixing your mind on the chosen object of meditation and stabilizing it is very key to avoid these disturbances, that is what is explained. You can see the sequencing, right? It's perfectly sequenced. So once it is done, stabilization of the mind and fixing it on a chosen object of meditation. That is the next topic, and that we will start from next week. 2 more topics, that's it. The Samadhi Pada is over. So we will do the prayer and then we can go to the Q&A.
Purnamada Purnam पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति